Hey guys, this is Mr. Lion again. Welcome to Lion Talk YouTube channel. I wanted to share some light on the Zika virus thing. I know the World Health Organization announced a quote-unquote global threat, but for any of you out there that don't know about it, I wanted to go ahead and touch on some things going around. One of the things going around on YouTube and everywhere else was that the Zika virus was transmitted by genetically modified mosquitoes, GMO mosquitoes. That's unproven. It was just something going around. But what I wanted to do is kind of run y'all through what I think could be the truth of it. So we'll go to here. In 1947, scientists researching yellow fever placed a rhesus macaque in a cage in the Zika forest. Of course, that is a monkey, and Zika means overgrown in the Uganda language, near the East African Virus Research Institute in Entebbe, Uganda. The monkey developed a fever, and researchers isolated from its serum a transmissible agent that was first described as Zika virus in 1952. It was subsequently isolated from a human in Nigeria in 1954. From its discovery until 2007, confirmed cases of Zika virus infection from Africa and Southeast Asia were rare. In 2007, however, a major epidemic occurred in Yep Island, Micronesia. More recently, epidemics have occurred in Polynesia, Easter Island, and the Cook Islands, and New Caledonia. Now, what's important is that although it's not listed here, there is some evidence that it has actually came into the U.S. Now, I don't know if that's part of the hoax or not, but we're going to touch on that. The first outbreak of the disease outside of Africa and Asia was in April 2007 on the island of Yep in the federal states of Micronesia. The condition was characterized by rash, conjunctivitis, and arthralgia, and was initially thought to be dengue fever. The chikungunya and Ross River viruses were also suspected. However, serum samples from patients in the acute phase of the illness contained RNA of Zika virus. The Zika fever disease process was relatively mild. There were only 49 confirmed cases, 59 unconfirmed cases, no deaths, and no hospitalizations. A recent larger outbreak of Zika virus outside Africa and Asia was confirmed in April 2015 in Brazil, in the district of Camaçari, and the neighbor Salvador City, capital of the state of Bahia. Healthcare authorities confirmed that a previously known disease affecting around 500 patients with flu-like symptoms followed by rash and arthralgia is indeed an ongoing outbreak of Zika fever, as proved by RT-PCR technique by researchers from Federal University of Bahia. Zika fever, local authorities linked the outbreak to recent increased flow of foreign visitors prompted by the 2014 FIFA World Cup, coupled with the large population of insect vectors such as Aedes aegypti and Aedes albopictus mosquitoes that inhabit the region. The spread followed a similar pattern to the also recent outbreak of chikungunya virus in the same region. Since April 2015, a large ongoing outbreak of Zika virus has spread to much of South and Central America and the Caribbean. In January 2016, the CDC issued a level 2 travel alert for people traveling to regions and certain countries where Zika virus transmission is ongoing. The agency also suggested that women thinking about becoming pregnant should consult with their physicians before traveling. According to the CDC, Brazilian health authorities reported more than 3,500 microcephaly cases between October 2015 and January 2016. Some of the affected infants have had a severe type of microcephaly and some have died. Okay, so there are some cases in America, one in Florida, with these babies that are being born with a smaller brain. Okay. So, like I was saying here, they say it's possibly genetically modified mosquitoes that reported this, and this was also in the mainstream news and everything else. BBC published an article. But anyway, y'all can probably look that up anywhere. Seemingly exploded out of nowhere, though it was first discovered in 1947. Cases only sporadically occurred throughout Africa and Asia in 2007. A case reported in the Pacific in 2013. A mattering of small outbreaks and individual cases were officially documented in Africa and Western Pacific. They also began showing up in the Americas. In May 2015, Brazil reported the first case of Zika virus, and the situation changed dramatically. Okay. How could the Zika virus catastrophe be linked to genetically modified mosquitoes? What is the effect on these mosquitoes that grew up with a mutilated genome? It is thought that this should introduce a fitness cost, that is, they should have greater difficulty surviving. What do we know about these mosquitoes? Has adequate research ever been done on how a genetically mutilated mosquito copes with the viral infection? Could the mosquito be more susceptible to certain pathogens that it then passes on to humans? If a pathogen like the Zika virus can thrive in the mosquito without restraint, it could evolve into something far more dangerous than its original incarnation, pulling the lever on the slot machine with every replication until it hits the genetic jackpot. Okay, this echoed similar fears expressed in the Florida Keys. Remember I said in Florida, when the residents feared genetically modified mosquitoes pose unpredictable threats. Actually, there was a case, I believe, in 2015. They don't talk about it very much. Okay, well, what I want to get to here is this. Zika hoax exposed by South American doctors, brain deformations caused by larvicide chemical linked to Monsanto. GM mosquitoes, a total failure. Despite all the public hoopla, in the cases of microcephaly being discovered in Brazil, have never been scientifically linked to the Zika virus. A group of doctors from South America are now saying the brain deformations the world is witnessing are caused by the mass fumigation of low-income Brazilian people with a chemical larvicide, not by mosquitoes carrying the Zika virus. What we're seeing with the brain deformations of children, in other words, is more like the history of thalidomide, a prescription medicine given to pregnant women that caused children to be born with limbs missing. But the official narrative on all this is pushing a false link with Zika in order to justify more chemical fumigation, more vaccines, and more genetically engineered mosquitoes. From the doctors at Red University de Ambiente y Salud, the Red University of Environment and Health, with HT to GM Watch, source document is linked here, but a dramatic increase of congenital malfunctions or malformations, especially microcephaly in newborns, was detected and quickly linked to the Zika virus by the Brazilian Ministry of Health. However, they fail to recognize that in the area where most sick persons live, a chemical larvicide producing malformations in mosquitoes has been applied for 18 months, and that this poison, pyropoxifin, is applied by the state on drinking water used by the affected population. It looks like the world's health authorities are using Zika virus mosquitoes as a cover story to conceal the damage caused by toxic chemicals manufactured by powerful globalist corporations. The larvicide sprayed in Brazil, for example, is called piaproxyfen, and is manufactured by Sumitomo Chemical, a corporation known to be a strategic partner of Monsanto. The Argentinian doctor's report lists Sumitomo as a subsidiary of Monsanto. As GM Watch reports, pyriproxyfen is a growth inhibitor of mosquito larvae, which alters the development process from larva to pupa to adult, thus generating malformations in developing mosquitoes and killing or disabling them. A growth inhibitor of developing organisms. Does that raise any question marks with anyone when considering the underdeveloped cranial and neurological systems of the children being victimized in all of this? From the report, malformation is detected in thousands of children from pregnant women living in areas where the Brazilian state added pyriproxyfen to drinking water is not a coincidence, even though the Ministry of Health places a direct blame on Zika virus for this damage while trying to ignore its responsibility and ruling out the hypothesis of direct and cumulative chemical damage caused by years of endocrine and immunological disruption of the affected population. Doctors from the Brazilian Association for Collective Health demand that urgent epidemiological studies taking into account this causal link be carried out, especially when among 3,893 cases of malformations confirmed until January 20th, 2016. 49 children have died and only 5 of them were confirmed to have been infected with Zika. The Zika virus doesn't cause microcephaly. As reported by the Argentinian doctors in the report, Zika virus has never been known to cause brain deformations in children. Previous Zika epidemics did not cause birth defects in newborns, despite infecting 75% of the population in those countries. Also in other countries such as Colombia, there are no records of microcephaly. However, there are plenty of Zika cases. The entire reason these brain deformations are being blamed on the Zika virus, we are now learning, is so that powerful chemical companies can sell more toxic chemicals that poison the people and the environment even more. From the doctor's report, Brazilian doctors are claiming that the strategy of chemical control is contaminating the environment as well as people, that it is not decreasing the amount of mosquitoes, and that this strategy, in fact, a commercial maneuver from the chemical poison industry, deeply integrated into Latin America ministries of health, as well as the WHO, World Health Organization, and PAHO. It's a vicious cycle, of course. The government sprays chemicals that cause brain deformation in children, but in order to avoid blaming the chemicals, they blame mosquitoes, thereby demanding more toxic chemicals be sprayed, causing yet more deformations that demand yet more chemicals, and so on. If all this sounds familiar, it's because it's ripped right out of the playbook of the vaccine industry. Many vaccines actually cause epidemics, which is why children who are stricken with measles and mumps have almost always been previously vaccinated against measles and mumps, thereby increasing public demand for more vaccines, which cause more outbreaks ad infinitum. It's the perfect business model. When your product causes an epidemic of diseases or birth defects, just find something else to blame them and then pay off the government health authorities to demand more of your product. After all, even the CDC loves these pandemics because it gives them an opportunity to exhibit more authority and push more vaccines. Billions already pledged to the vaccine industry, even with no scientific evidence of the link. Based entirely on fraudulent information and quack science, President Obama has now called for 1.8 billion in government handouts to vaccine companies and pharmaceutical corporations to combat Zika. Yet the linkage between Zika and microcephaly is nothing but an unproven, unscientific, mythological narrative dreamed up by vaccine pushers. It carries the same scientific weight as saying black cats cause bad luck, or rubbing a rabbit's foot gives good luck. Hence the term vaccine voodoo, which is technically accurate description of the total lack of science underpinned the fraudulent vaccine industry. Isn't it amazing how quickly the government, the media, and vaccine pushers have leaked to the preferred conclusion about? So anyway, you can go and read this. I'll put a link in the description. But despite what all the stuff people are posting about this being, caused by the Zika virus and all this good stuff, could it be a cover-up? I don't know. Could be. But another point I want to point out to you guys is that if it were the Zika virus, you've got, the possible hoax, the possible truth here. Something else I wanted to point out is that the Zika virus can be purchased online on this website. And another thing I want to point out is who actually holds the patent on this virus, which is none other than the Rockefeller Foundation. And that was back in 1947, which is kind of strangely odd, being that is exactly around the time it first showed up. But anyway, I just wanted to point this out to you guys. Thanks, and stay vigilant, keep your heads up, seek Yahuwah with all your heart, and shalom, guys.